Hey everyone, Eric Gradoia here, Director of Historic Preservation at Historic Deerfield. This is my second video on building hardware, specifically nails that are used in early New England architecture. And in this video I'm going to talk about cut nails, the different types of cut nails, when they date to, and the characteristics to look for when you're examining them. So cut nails begin to show up around the late 1780s, 1790s in New England, and it marks the beginning of a machine-made nail. And there's sort of three different types of cut nails you'll come across. There are the earliest type, which are going to be a machine cut nail that's hand-headed. Then there's a transitional type, which is a machine cut, machine headed nail, but it's somewhat crude, and it is until about 1830s, mid 1830s, where you'll have a machine cut, machine headed nail where all the nails are uniform and identical to one another across the same machine. So the first type of cut nail I mentioned is essentially an early cut nail. These show up around late 1780s or so, and are used up, depending on where you are, into the 1800s, let's say, right around that period of time. And this is a machine cut nail, and I should talk a little bit about the machine process. Where wrought nails, which I talked about in my previous video, were handmade out of nail rod. These cut nails were sheared off of a length of nail plate, which you see here. This would be fed into a machine, and a set of dies would come down and cut and shear the nail off of this. The length of the nail directly corresponds to the width of this nail plate here. So wider plate, longer nail. Okay, and in the earliest machines, this nail plate would, as it was fed in, would basically move side to side in order to produce that taper during the shearing motion, the taper of the nail. In later machines, this nail plate flips. Okay, and that leaves a characteristic detail on the nail itself, and that's what helps us identify the different periods of nails. So as I said, in the first type of cut nail, this machine cut hand-headed nail, when you look at it, you're going to notice a few distinctive characteristics. The first one is, depending on sort of the age of the nail and how where it was made, the shaft to it might be kind of irregular or twisted. The taper is not uniform. You're going to see a real distinctive feature is this necking right underneath the head of the nail. That's where it was pinched during the heading process. And when these nails are headed, the heads of them tend to be can be crude. They're not perfect like we'll see in the later ones. So the head might be off-center to the shaft. It may have kind of crush marks where you see the actual head of the nail, the metal itself being crushed and split open. And then another subtle detail you're going to want to look for under magnification are what are called the shear and burr marks that show up on these, and those are left as part of that cutting process. And as I said, in the earliest machines where the nail plate was moved side to side in order to produce the taper, that's going to result in a burr that is diagonal to each other across opposite sides of the shaft itself. All right, so that's what you're going to look for under magnification for these early cut nails. The next type of cut nail is the transitional cut nail, and this is the ones that date from, say, the 1800s or so, 1810 up to the 1830s. And this is a machine cut, machine headed nail. And when you look at this nail closely, the shaft of the nail is going to be a bit more uniform generally, and the later they are, the more uniform the taper is. The heads on these are going to be a bit better than those early cut nails. They'll tend to be a bit more uniform. They can be centered on the nail shaft, but it's not uncommon to find the shaft off-centered, or the head off-centered of the shaft. They'll still have a pinch under the head, but it may not be as pronounced. But the big sort of difference, what you're going to be looking for, this is a nail that the nail plate begins to, the machines flip the nail plate during the cut. And as a result of that, the burrs on these nails, they'll be on the same sides. They'll be opposite one another on the shaft, but along the same edges there. So that's the giveaway to these. And then the last type of cut nail that's produced starts to show up, say, in the 1830s. I think around 1835 or so is the early date on these. And this is what we generally call sort of the the modern or the perfect cut nail. And what that means is that almost everything about these, from the taper on these is uniform. The heads are centered. The heads tend to be very regular, meaning they're either oval or kind of rectangular, and all the nails produced, say, out of one machine are identical to one another. And so from this point up till when these start to fall out of fashion, these get replaced by wire nails in the 1880s, 1890s. But there's still an overlap. These get used into the 1900s, but they begin to fall out of fashion in the 1890s. So from the 1840 to 1890s, it's real difficult to tell these guys apart from one another. So that's our cut nails. And in the next video, I'll talk about wire nails and when they show up. Thanks for watching.